What's up, guys? I just want to make a quick video. So I'm literally like in class right now, and like the question is, do you think that we should learn about history in a science class? And I'm like thinking to myself that like, why would you like want to learn history if you're taking a science class? You get me? Like, I don't know, but just hear this out. Like, hear this. These are the students. That's my teacher. Look. That's my teacher. That's the coach. That's the kid. We don't know that.
For the longest time, we've had control over a lot of things.
You get me?
These diseases exist, but with modern medicine, we're kind of able to control. But
Yeah.
so powerful and.
Okay, so basically what this class is, it's my biology class, like literally. Stress, bro, stress. Like literally, this is the Google Classroom for it, and literally, look how many people I have in this class. Like it's ridiculous, bro. It's ridiculous. Like I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 19 and 20 people in this class. That's like really crazy. Like, bro. And I think these are more teachers, I think. Yeah, but bro, but like, why does this have to happen? Like, for real. Like, I get it. We're going through a new chapter, but like, still, you get me? Look.
Muchas gracias, Daniela. I appreciate you. Thank you. Right. And Raymond's like, okay, now yes.
Look in the chat. Look in the chat.
So we talked about this.
Look in the chat.
And today, what we're talking about goes hand in hand with that. Okay, so I gave you the first portion where we talked about the significance of the microscope and why it was important and what we do with it. Now we're going to talk about its.
Alright, so y'all read that. I'm gonna scroll up to the chat so y'all could see what happened.
Biggest thing it could be known for
Alright, this is the top of the chat. Hold up. Look, that's the top of the chat.
We're going to be talking about the history of cells. There would be no way that anybody would be able to discover a cell without a microscope. In particular, we're going to be talking about the cell theory. So before we get into that, I'm going to show you a short video.
You get me?
And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history.
You get me, bro? You get me? Like,
you're free. After that, you guys have a quizzes assignment that goes with this lecture. And that's pretty much it for today. It's kind of a nice, easy day. Okay, so let's watch this video. We can talk about it in a sec. And enjoy. Spike? The line does that sometimes. All right.
Hey, but be honest though, like for real, is my teacher cute? Like, not gonna lie, just be honest. Like, put in the chat if she's cute.
One of the great things about science is that when scientists make a discovery, it's not always in a prescribed manner.
Now we have to watch this smart video so we can learn. So yeah, just keep watching. Bro, what is she doing, bro? What is she doing? She's just chilling. She's just chilling there right there. She's just chilling.
There are three parts to the cell theory. 1. All organisms are composed of one or more cells. 2. The cell is the basic unit of structure, organization, and organisms. And 3. All cells come from pre-existing cells. To be honest, This all sounds incredibly boring until you dig a little deeper into how the world of microscopic organisms and this theory came to be. It all started in the early 1600s in the Netherlands, where a spectacle maker named Zacharias Janssen is said to have come up with the first compound microscope, along with the first telescope. Both claims are often disputed, as apparently he wasn't the only bored guy with a ton of glass lenses to play with at the time. Despite this, the microscope soon became a hot item that every naturalist or scientist at the time wanted to play with, making it much like the iPad of its day. One such person was a fellow Dutchman by the name of Anton van Leeuwenhoek, who heard about these microscope doohickeys, and instead of going out and buying one, he decided to make his own. And it was a strange little contraption indeed, as it looked more like a tiny paddle the size of a sunglass lens. If he had stuck two together, it probably would have made a wicked set of sunglasses that you couldn't see much out of. Anywho, once Leeuwenhoek had his microscope ready, he went to town looking at anything and everything he could with them, including the gunk on his teeth. Yes, you heard right. He actually discovered bacteria by looking at dental scrapings, which, when you keep in mind that people didn't brush their teeth much, if at all, back then, he must have had a lovely bunch of bacteria to look at. When he wrote about his discovery, he didn't call them bacteria as we know them today, but he called them animalcules because they looked like little animals to him. While Leeuwenhoek was staring at his teeth gunk, he was also sending letters to a scientific colleague in England by the name of Robert Hooke. Hooke was a guy who really loved all aspects of science, so he dabbled in a little bit of everything, including physics, chemistry, and biology. Thus it is Hooke who we can thank for the term the cell, as he was looking at a piece of cork under his microscope, and the little chambers he saw reminded him of cells, or the rooms monks slept in their monasteries. Think college dorm rooms, but without the TVs, computers, and really annoying roommates. Hooke was something of an underappreciated scientist of his day. Something he brought upon himself as he made the mistake of locking horns with one of the most famous scientists ever, Sir Isaac Newton. Remember when I said Hooke dabbled in many different fields? Well, after Newton published a groundbreaking book on how planets move due to gravity, Hooke made the claim that Newton had been inspired by Hooke's work in physics. Newton, to say the least, did not like that, which sparked a tense relationship between the two that lasted even after Hooke died, as quite a bit of Hooke's research, as well as his only portrait, was misplaced due to Newton. Much of it was rediscovered, thankfully, after Newton's time, but not his portrait, as sadly no one knows what Robert Hooke looked like. Fast forward to the 1800s, where two German scientists discovered something that today we might find rather obvious, but helped tie together what we now know as the cell theory. The first scientist was Matthias Schleiden, a botanist who liked to study plants under a microscope. From his years of studying different plant species, it finally dawned on him that every single plant he had looked at were all made of cells. At the same time, on the other end of Germany was Theodor Schwann, a scientist who not only studied slides of animal cells under the microscope and got a special type of nerve cell named after him, but also invented rebreathers for firefighters and had a kickin' pair of sideburns. After studying animal cells for a while, he too came to the conclusion that all animals were made of cells. Immediately, he reached out via snail mail, as Twitter had yet to be invented, to other scientists working in the same field, and it was Schleiden who got back to him, and the two started working on the beginnings of the cell theory. A bone of contention arose between them, as for the last part of the cell theory, that cells come from pre-existing cells, Schleiden didn't exactly subscribe to that thought, as he swore cells came from free cell formation, where they just kind of spontaneously crystallized into existence. That's when another scientist, named Rudolf Virchow, stepped in with research showing that cells did come from other cells. Research that was actually, how to put it, borrowed without permission from a Jewish scientist by the name of Robert Remak, which led to two more feuding scientists. Thus, from teeth gunk to torquing off Newton, crystallizations of Schwann cells, the cell theory came to be an important part of biology today. Some things we know about science today may seem boring, but how we came to know them is incredibly fascinating. So if something bores you, dig deeper. it's probably got a really weird story behind it somewhere.
And she's right. You know, the essence of science essentially is
Wow, bro,
a
that's
lot
cool.
of past discoveries being refined over time so you get the most modern
God
version
help
of
me.
that. That's why I like science, and I love teaching about the history in science as well, because it is in its own way kind of controversial. There's a lot of scientists that are going to push the boundaries and contradict each other, argue with each other, fight, and so all for the sake of wanting their truth or the truth to be out there, right, to be known by the population. Okay, so we're just going to briefly go over what you guys already saw in the video. So they mentioned Robert Hooke. So Robert Hooke is going to be examining some cork. And if you guys know anything about cork, I had a little piece of cork here, but my little baby roommate, puppy, dog child, decided to eat it. And I found it yesterday.
Wait, what? He ate it?
Yeah, she ate the cork. And so cork, maybe get my husband to bring me some, is the little, if you guys have ever seen a wine bottle.
Yes, my mom.
Right, there you go. The cork goes on top, right? So that the liquid doesn't come out. And
So, if you put it upside down, how does that work? How does it fall out of the bottle? I don't understand. Like when you put the wine bottle upside down, how does the cork not fall off of it?
Oh, okay. So because of the pressure, so essentially when they're preparing the wine bottle, right?
Yeah.
And as you know, it has the very thin opening, right? The tube where it comes out. So usually what they do is the cork that they put in there is slightly bigger than the opening. And so with a little bit of pressure, sometimes they stick it in just perfectly with enough, force and pressure so that it goes through and it creates that seal. I think that's how that works. Coach Walker, I don't know if you want to correct me on that, but I want to say that's how. I mean, now with modern technology, I'm sure there are machines that do it, but back in the old day, they would just do it by hand.
Yeah, the cork that they also use, it's not old cork. Like it's a cork that's real old and dry, it'll break and crack real easy. Which wine companies and companies that use corks, the cork you'll notice when it's inside the bottle, and then as soon as you take it out, the cork expands. It's hard to reuse.
Yeah.
But that's what keeps the freshness of a bottle.
Yeah. And it's spongy too.
And then some of them you can use them again instead of using them.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No wonder my mom always saves them.
I have a whole box of them, but I will not show them to you because I forgot them in my kitchen. But they're there. I need to text my husband. Bring me some cork. All right. So back to Robert Hooke. So Robert Hooke looks down the microscope. He sees all these little holes, and he's like, you know what? They kind of look like the cells where the monks sleep in. So he names them cells. That's where we get the name from. And so also discussing, they talked about this, which I think is always so gross. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. So Anton Leeuwenhoek, if you guys remember when we did the discussion initially over the microscope, he was one of the first to be discussed. And he was also in the video that we saw that 2 weeks ago, right, where we saw the microorganisms, okay? So he scraped his teeth. Gross. And remember, yes, they did not
That's
brush
disgusting.
their teeth
Ugh.
back then. So you could just imagine all the goodies he found, right? And so with that, he also went to a pond and he scraped some of the pond. Well, how do you scrape water? But he took some samples from the water, like some algae and some bacteria that were in there. Schleiden is going to say that plants are also made of cells.
I'm just gonna end the video. Like honestly, this is like really pointless, bro.
Crazy.
Subscribe, like the video, whatever. Do it.